Imagine being a 10-year-old kid. You're just playing in the yard.
Just a totally normal day.
Right, a normal kid living a normal life. But then you don't just see your best friend get hit by a car. You literally feel her die.
Ugh, which is just horrifying.
It really is. You physically and emotionally experience her brain shutting down, the panic, the fading away.
Yeah.
And that is how the most powerful superhero in the entire Marvel universe was born.
It's wild, right? It completely reframes how you look at the character.
Exactly. It's not, some triumphant discovery of flight or super strength. It started with an unimaginable, mind-shattering trauma.
Because we are so used to the standard superhero origin, like the radioactive spider or the magical hammer.
Oh, yeah.
But here, you have an origin rooted in the terrifying lack of boundaries that comes with unfiltered telepathy.
And that's exactly what we're digging into today. Welcome to this deep dive into the massive stack of lore surrounding Jean Grey.
There is so much to cover.
So much. And our mission here isn't to just recap the movies you've probably already seen. We want to get under the hood.
Right, we really want to look at the actual fictional mechanics of her powers.
Decode that infamously confusing history of her connection to the Phoenix Force, and figure out what the comic world actually means when they throw around the term Omega-level mutant.
Because if you peel back the decades of convoluted timelines, and there are a lot of them.
So many clones.
Right, the clones, the cosmic entities. If you peel all that back, you find a remarkably profound emotional core. Her story is one of the most intense explorations of empathy and raw power in modern fiction.
I totally agree. So let's start at the origin point. You have this young girl, Jean, whose mutant powers trigger prematurely.
Yeah, because of the extreme emotional shock of her friend Annie Richardson dying.
Right. But it wasn't her famous telekinesis that manifested first, which I think surprises people. It was her telepathy.
Exactly. She involuntarily created an empathic link with Annie.
And you really have to consider the psychological toll of that. Because telepathy is so often presented in media as this, cool, slick party trick.
Oh, for sure. Guessing what number someone is thinking of, or cheating on a test.
Exactly. But the reality, as depicted in Jean's early life, is pure sensory horror.
I mean, a child's mind lacks the neurological architecture to process that.
Yeah.
Processing the raw, unfiltered physical agony and existential dread of another human being crossing over into death.
It nearly killed her. She was left completely comatose.
She was. I mean, to preserve her own sanity, her subconscious basically pulled the plug.
Yeah.
She completely withdrew from the world because the ambient noise of human suffering was just too loud.
So you have a child whose mind is essentially bleeding to death from the ambient pain of the world. And traditional medicine obviously can't fix a mutant brain.
No, not at all.
They needed someone who understood the architecture of the mind, which is where Professor Charles Xavier steps in.
And he does something incredibly drastic when her parents bring her to him.
He essentially performs psychic masonry, right?
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
He builds a wall inside her mind to completely shut down her telepathic abilities.
Locks it all away.
Locks it all in a vault. And he leaves her with only telekinesis, the ability to move physical objects with her mind.
It's like building a massive dam. He stops the flood of other people's thoughts so she doesn't drown.
Right.
But he lets a little bit of water through the spillway, the telekinesis, so she can still function and feel somewhat in control.
That is exactly what it was, a controlled environment.
Yeah.
Xavier determined she didn't have the maturity to handle the telepathy.
Which is probably fair.
Yeah, so he gave her a manageable power set to focus on. She could build confidence-lifting books and eventually, lifting up to 50 tons.
Without the overwhelming static of everyone else's inner demons.
Exactly.
But then you read the early 1960s comic runs, and the pacing is just incredibly jarring.
Oh, it's so funny to look back at.
Because in X-Men #1, Jean arrives at the school. She takes on the codename Marvel Girl, and Xavier immediately sends her into a life-or-death battle against Magneto.
Literally on her very first day.
First day, welcome to the school. Here's your uniform. Please go fight a radicalized master of magnetism.
It's definitely a product of its time.
Yeah.
The narrative urgency took precedence over logical character development.
But the narrative shifts gears in a really fascinating way around issue 41.
Yeah, this is a big moment.
Xavier is convinced he has a terminal illness, so he starts secretly training Jean to become a telepath so she can replace him when he dies.
Right.
And I have to ask you about the mechanics of this. Can you just, train someone to suddenly possess telepathy out of nowhere? Or was the power just sitting behind that dam Xavier built, waiting to be unleashed?
Oh, it was absolutely always there.
Okay,
If you look at the wider context of mutant genetics in the Marvel Universe, powers don't just spontaneously generate through training.
that makes sense.
Xavier wasn't teaching her a new skill from scratch, like learning to speak French. He was slowly dismantling the very psychic block he had built years prior.
So he was systematically lowering the dam.
Precisely. And you have to imagine how terrifying that was for her.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
He was guiding her through the process of reopening a door that she inherently associated with the worst, most agonizing trauma of her life.
Wow.
The training was actually just extreme guided exposure therapy for her mutation.
And once that dam was fully removed, Jean didn't just go back to being a standard mind reader.
No, she completely evolved.
The comic world constantly uses the term omega level to describe her, but what does that actually mean? Because really powerful feels like a massive understatement.
It is. To understand it, we should look at writer Jonathan Hickman's specific definition, because he codified it for the entire Marvel Universe.
Okay, what's the definition?
He defines an Omega-level mutant as a mutant whose dominant power is deemed to register or reach an undefinable upper limit of that power's specific classification.
Undefinable upper limit, meaning there's literally no known ceiling to what she can do.
Not at all.
But what does that look like in practice? Because, again, telepathy usually just means hearing someone's inner monologue, right?
Right, but it goes so far beyond hearing thoughts. She can perform what is essentially psychic surgery.
Psychic surgery.
Yeah. She can manually erase specific traumas or stimulate the pleasure and pain centers in a target's brain.
That is terrifying.
She can even communicate with high-intelligence animals like dolphins or ravens.
Wait, real?
Yeah, which is incredibly difficult because it requires translating abstract, non-human conceptual thought into something comprehensible.
I was reading about her illusions, too. There's a detail about a character named Karnak getting caught in one of her mindscapes.
Oh, yes. Karnak is a fascinating benchmark here.
He's the inhuman guy, right?
Exactly. He is an inhuman martial artist whose entire power and lifelong training revolves around finding the inherent flaw in all things.
Right.
A physical structure, a strategy, a person. He can find the weak point instantly.
And Jean traps him in a mental illusion, and it takes him 3 entire days to find a single flaw in her fake reality.
3 days.
3 days for a guy whose brain is like a supercomputer at finding cracks in the armor.
Exactly. Because it's not mere deception. She isn't just tricking his eyes.
What is she doing then?
She is achieving the total subjugation of his sensory input. She controls what he sees, smells, feels, and experiences on a neurological level.
Okay, so her telepathy is terrifying, but what about the telekinesis?
Right, the physical stuff.
We mentioned she could lift 50 tons early on, but lifting heavy stuff isn't exactly an undefinable upper limit.
True. The true mark of Omega-level telekinesis isn't just brute force, it's precision. She can manipulate matter on a subatomic scale.
Wait, I need to understand the how here. I read that she can turn wood into gold.
She can.
How does moving things with your mind, which is what telekinesis is, translate into alchemy? How does pushing a block of wood turn it into a precious metal?
Well, she isn't just pushing the block of wood. Think about what makes wood different from gold.
The atoms.
It's the atomic structure, the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons. Jean is applying microscopic telekinetic pressure to the individual subatomic particles within the wood.
No way.
Yes. She is physically ripping apart the atoms and reassembling them into the atomic structure of gold. She's doing particle physics with her brain.
That is insane. And she also learns to forge raw psychic energy into actual physical weapons after training with Psylocke, right?
Yes, she can condense psychic energy until it becomes tactile. But the most significant mechanical revelation about how her powers actually function comes from writer Brian Michael Bendis.
Oh, I love this part.
He completely recontextualized her biology.
This is the part that completely blew my mind. Bendis reveals that her telekinesis is actually fueled by her telepathy.
Right. It's a symbiotic loop between her two mutations.
That's so cool.
She instinctively draws in ambient psychic energy from her surroundings, the thoughts, the anxiety, the mental noise of everyone around her.
So think of her telepathy like a massive wind turbine, and the chaotic thoughts of everyone in a city are the wind.
Perfect analogy.
Her brain catches that ambient mental noise, converts it into energy, and fires it out as raw, physical, telekinetic force. It's like psychic judo.
Exactly.
If you attack her with a mental blast, she just absorbs it and hits you back with a telekinetic semi-truck.
It is incredibly efficient.
But wait, I want to push back on this.
Okay, cool.
If she absorbs ambient psychic energy to use as telekinesis, isn't that actually a massive vulnerability?
How so?
What if you put her in a totally empty room in the middle of nowhere? There's no mental wind for her turbine. Does she just become completely powerless? How is she Omega level if she essentially requires a battery pack of other people's brains to function?
That is a brilliant question, and it forces us to clarify what the undefinable limit refers to.
Okay.
Jean generates her own massive reserves of psionic energy, so she is never powerless in an empty room.
Oh, so she's her own battery, too.
Exactly. She's a powerhouse all on her own. But what is limitless is her capacity to absorb and channel external energy without burning out.
I see.
So if she is on Krakoa, which, for context, is an island nation populated by hundreds of thousands of mutants.
Right, many of them immensely powerful telepaths.
Yes. Her turbine is catching a Category 5 hurricane of mental energy. Her telekinetic potential in that environment is truly astronomical. She's an infinite conduit.
An infinite conduit. And that concept is the perfect transition to the most controversial, convoluted, and spectacular part of her history.
Here we go.
Because Krakoa as a battery is one thing, but what happens when that infinite conduit plugs into an actual cosmic god?
You get the Phoenix Force.
Yeah.
And this is where the line between mortal mutant and cosmic entity completely blurs.
Let's map out the classic origin of this because it's wild. Jean is in a space shuttle plummeting toward Earth.
Right.
She's actively dying from lethal solar radiation while trapped to pilot the ship to save her team. In her dying moments, she sends out a psychic cry for help.
A desperate plea.
And the Phoenix Force, this ancient cosmic entity of life and rebirth, answers her call.
And this specific moment creates a massive fork in the timeline, leading to arguably the most famous storyline in comic book history, the Dark Phoenix Saga.
I mean, everyone knows the name. So originally, the story goes that the Phoenix takes on Jean's physical form and memories.
Right.
It puts the real dying Jean into a healing energy cocoon and hides her at the bottom of Jamaica Bay.
As one does.
Naturally. Meanwhile, this Phoenix imposter joins the X-Men, thinking it is Jean. But it gets corrupted by the intensity of human emotions and manipulated by a villainous group called the Hellfire Club.
Yeah, they really push her over the edge.
It goes completely mad, consumes an actual star to replenish its cosmic power, and in doing so, accidentally commits genocide against billions of aliens known as the Debari people.
It's super dark.
Finally, experiencing a moment of clarity driven by Jean's copied morality, the Phoenix commits suicide on the moon to save the universe from itself.
Which, culturally, it was a masterpiece.
Oh, absolutely.
It showed that comics could tackle immense, tragic arcs. But editorially, it created a nightmare for Marvel.
Because eventually, they wanted to bring the real Jean Grey back to reunite the original team.
Right.
But you can't exactly sell lunchboxes featuring a superhero who is responsible for the genocide of billions of innocent aliens.
Exactly. The editorial mandate was clear. Jean Grey cannot be a mass murderer.
Right.
So, writers Kurt Busiek and John Byrne devised the Cocoon retcon. They established that the real Jean was asleep underwater the entire time.
Which is just so convenient.
It was essentially a cosmic clone that committed the crimes. Her hands were completely clean.
Which honestly feels like a massive cop-out.
Oh, totally.
It robs the story of its emotional weight if she was just taking a nap the whole time.
And many subsequent writers completely agreed with you. They found that separating Jean from the Phoenix made her far less interesting. It diminished the tragedy of her character. And this is where the narrative shifts again, particularly with writers like Grant Morrison, who introduced a deeply philosophical concept to her lore. Apotheosis.
Apotheosis.
Yeah.
The idea of a mortal human transcending their physical limits to become a god.
Right. Morrison and later writers began to weave the two entities back together. They framed it not as an alien possession, but as a destiny.
A destiny, wow.
They're bonded by a shared feeling of profound love and a hunger for limitless potential.
So they aren't separate.
Marvel spent decades trying to separate them to keep Jean innocent. But modern writers realized that making her culpable, accepting that the capacity for universe-ending destruction lives within a mortal woman's heart, makes her a vastly superior character.
There's a fantastic quote from ex-editor Jordan D. White that lays out the modern truth of their relationship.
Oh, I know one.
He says, Jean is the phoenix and always is the phoenix, even when she's not the phoenix. And the phoenix is always Jean, even when it's not Jean.
Yeah.
They're fundamentally one and the same.
And when she fully embraces this unity, usually taking on the mantle of the white phoenix of the crown, her powers become entirely incomprehensible.
We aren't talking about manipulating atoms anymore.
No, no. We are talking about manipulating the fabric of existence.
Like her cosmic pyrokinesis. Creating fire that burns in the vacuum of space. Fire that burns underwater. But wait, how does fire exist in a vacuum with no oxygen?
Because it's not a chemical fire.
Oh, right.
It's psionic fire. The lore explicitly states that her flames burn through lies and deception.
That is so poetic.
It is the physical manifestation of cosmic judgment. She also gains temporal manipulation, the ability to see, hold, and completely rewrite the past, present, and future.
She can literally change history.
She can resurrect the dead, bringing them back into living flesh, bone, and blood.
She becomes the ultimate arbiter of existence.
Exactly. The Phoenix Force's cosmic mandate is to burn away what doesn't work in the universe.
But if modern writers are insisting that Jean and the Phoenix are fundamentally the exact same entity, does that mean the real human Jean Grey is ultimately responsible for the horrors of the Dark Phoenix?
That's the big question.
Or is the Phoenix just a massive, uncontrollable magnification of her deepest, darkest human emotions?
The brilliance of the modern interpretation is that it forces us to accept that it is both.
Both.
You cannot separate the human from the god. The Dark Phoenix wasn't just an alien going crazy. It was a cosmic entity, utterly overwhelmed by the raw, potent, messy nature of human emotion.
Lust, anger, hunger, and grief.
Because Jean and the Phoenix are one, that capacity for universe-ending destruction exists within Jean. It's just magnified to a cosmic scale.
So when we step back and look at this massive, decades-long arc, we're tracing something incredible.
We really are.
You start with a traumatized 10-year-old girl whose empathy was so overwhelming that her powers had to be locked away in a psychic vault just so her brain wouldn't short-circuit. And you follow that thread all the way to the White Phoenix of the Crown, a being capable of holding entire universes in the palms of her hands.
And throughout all of that evolution, from the trauma to the apotheosis, the core theme remains identical.
Which is?
Jean's story is the ultimate exploration of power and empathy. In a comic book landscape where a character's self-worth is so often judged by their raw, destructive output, Jean's humanity is what actually defines her.
That's a great point.
Her willingness to sacrifice herself over and over again across multiple timelines to protect the people she loves is her truest strength.
It's not the cosmic fire that makes her a hero, it's the fragile human heart directing the flames.
Beautifully said.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, there is one detail about the mechanics of her power that has been entirely stuck in my head, and I want to leave you with it.
A final thought experiment for the listener.
Exactly. Think about the mechanical reality of what we just discussed. Jean Grey possesses the ability to manipulate matter on a subatomic level. She can literally change the chemical composition of the world around her. She can cast flawless telepathic illusions that trap brilliant strategists for days, completely subjugating their senses.
Like poor Karnak.
Right. She can meticulously rewrite human memories, and as the Phoenix, she can literally warp reality and rewrite the timeline itself.
The undefinable upper limit in action.
Right. So if she has all of that power, if she can fundamentally alter perception, matter, and time, how can even Gina herself ever be truly certain that the Marvel universe she interacts with is actually real?
Oh, that is terrifying.
Isn't it?
When you have the power to seamlessly edit reality on a subatomic and psychological level, the concept of objective truth disappears completely.
It really makes you wonder, what if all the X-Men, the epic cosmic battles, the triumphs, and the heartbreaks aren't real at all?
Oh, wow.
What if it's all just a massive subconscious telepathic illusion she created for herself just to cope with the crushing existential isolation of her own infinite power?
That changes everything.
Maybe she built the entire universe in her mind just so she wouldn't have to be alone in the dark. Keep diving deep, and we'll see you next time.